Welcome to this comprehensive training session on FAR Part 15, Contracting by Negotiation. This course, prepared by Neybor Consulting, will walk you through the complete framework governing negotiated federal acquisitions. Whether you are an offeror preparing proposals, a program manager shaping requirements, or a contracting professional managing competitions, this guide will equip you with the knowledge to navigate FAR Part 15 confidently. Let's get started. This slide outlines our agenda for today. We will move through 10 key topic areas covering the full life cycle of FAR Part 15. From understanding its scope and definitions, through the source selection process and evaluation, into pricing and negotiations, and finally debriefings and unsolicited proposals. Each section includes practical examples and key points you can apply immediately in your work. FAR Part 15 is the primary framework for negotiated acquisitions in the federal marketplace, unlike sealed bidding under FAR Part 14, where the government simply opens bids and awards to the lowest price. Part 15 gives the government the flexibility to evaluate quality differences, hold discussions with offerors, request revisions to proposals, and make a best value judgment. Think of it this way: if the government is evaluating your approach, your team, and your price against a set of criteria, you are in a Part 15 world. These 6 definitions are foundational to FAR Part 15. They are not just vocabulary, they shape how agencies write evaluation reports, how discussions are conducted, and how protests are argued. For example, the difference between a weakness and a significant weakness determines whether an evaluator must raise an issue during discussions. And proposal revision versus proposal modification determines what offerors can actually change and when. Know these definitions cold. The best value continuum is one of the most important concepts in FAR Part 15. It tells us that best value is not a one-size-fits-all formula. The chart shows how the balance between technical quality and price shifts depending on what the government is buying. At the left end, for commodity services with low performance risk, price dominates and agencies often use LPTA, lowest price technically acceptable. At the right end, for complex research and development or highly technical systems, the technical evaluation carries far more weight. The middle of the spectrum is where most federal procurements land, and where the trade-off source selection process is used. Let's look at the 2 main methods under the best value continuum. On the left, the trade-off process gives the government flexibility to pick an offer that isn't the cheapest, as long as the additional technical quality justifies the price premium. The source selection authority must document exactly why that premium was worth paying. On the right, LPTA is a stricter method. Once a proposal clears the acceptability threshold, technical excellence doesn't help. It all comes down to price. The practical takeaway: in a trade-off procurement, your proposal narrative and differentiated strengths matter enormously. In LPTA, your job is to prove compliance at the lowest possible price. This slide shows the 6-step source selection process under FAR Part 15. It starts with acquisition planning, where the agency defines its requirements, sets the evaluation strategy, and approves the source selection plan before the solicitation is released. Step 2 is issuing the RFP. Section L tells offerors how to write their proposals, and Section M tells evaluators how to score them. Step 3 is receiving and controlling proposals. Step 4 is the evaluation, scoring proposals against the stated factors. Step 5 is the heart of Part 15. The competitive range is established, discussions are held, and final proposal revisions are requested. Step 6 is award and debriefing. Each step is documented, and that documentation is what survives an audit or protest. Section 15.304 is the heart of evaluation design. The government must identify evaluation factors and significant subfactors that reflect the key decision areas, and it must tell offerors in the solicitation, in Section M, exactly how they will be judged and the relative importance of each factor. The pie chart shows a typical trade-off weight distribution. Price is always required. There are no exceptions. Past performance is almost always required above the simplified acquisition threshold. The critical legal rule is this: the agency can only evaluate on factors it disclosed in Section M. If an evaluator scores down a proposal for a reason not listed in Section M, that is a legally vulnerable evaluation and a strong protest ground. FAR 15.306 is one of the most litigated sections in all of federal procurement law. It creates three distinct categories of exchange, and crossing the line between them can invalidate an award. Clarifications are the most limited. They fix clerical issues without allowing substantive revision. Communications happen before the competitive range is set to help the agency understand proposals. Discussions are the most powerful, and the most controlled. When discussions are opened, the contracting officer must point out deficiencies and significant weaknesses. But discussions must be equal. You cannot give one offeror a tip you didn't give another. The practical takeaway: if discussions are opened, your proposal is not final. Use that opportunity aggressively. Pricing under FR Part 15 follows a preference hierarchy. The government should start with the least burdensome approach, using available market or catalog prices, and only escalate to more demanding methods when simpler ones are insufficient. Price analysis compares the total price to benchmarks like independent government estimates or other offers. Cost analysis goes deeper, evaluating individual cost elements like labor, materials, and overhead. At the top of the pyramid sits certified cost or pricing data, the most demanding requirement triggered when the contract exceeds $2.5 million and no exception applies. CCOPD is a big deal because it requires formal certification that all data was accurate, complete, and current. If it wasn't, that's defective pricing, and the government can demand a price reduction. Certified cost or pricing data, or CCOPD, is triggered when a negotiated contract or modification exceeds $2.5 million and none of the exceptions apply. The certification is a legal statement. The contractor is certifying that, to the best of its knowledge, all submitted data was accurate, complete, and current as of the date of price agreement. The four main exceptions are adequate price competition, where market forces validate the price, commercial products and services, prices set by law or regulation, and authorized waivers. The most important risk here is defective pricing. If the government later discovers that your certified data was wrong, even inadvertently, it can demand a price reduction for the amount the price was overstated. This is an area where rigorous internal cost tracking and certification processes are essential. Proposal analysis under FR 15.404 has two main tracks. Price analysis looks at the total proposed price and compares it to available benchmarks, MUG, competing offers, historical prices, the government's own estimate, or published market data. This is the preferred approach when market data is sufficient. Cost analysis is a deeper dive. It breaks down individual cost elements and asks, are these costs necessary, reasonable, and properly calculated? Cost analysis is required when certified cost or pricing data is submitted, or when price analysis alone won't establish reasonableness. For cost reimbursement contracts, there's a special form of cost analysis called cost realism. The agency assesses whether the offeror's proposed costs are realistic for the work. An unrealistically low-cost proposal may signal either an unclear understanding of the work or a plan to lowball and absorb overruns. Debriefings are one of the most powerful tools available to offerors after a competition. FAR 15.505 gives excluded offerors a right to a pre-award debriefing. You must request it within 3 days of receiving notice that you were excluded from the competitive range. The debriefing tells you the basis for your exclusion, but it is limited. You won't get the awardee's details or full scores. The post-award debriefing under FR 15.506 is more valuable. After award, disappointed offerors can request a debriefing and learn their significant weaknesses and deficiencies, how they were rated overall compared to the awardee's overall price and technical rating, and the rationale for the selection decision. This information is often the foundation for deciding whether to protest. The protest clock, typically 10 days at the GAO, begins running after a debriefing. Subpart 15.6 governs unsolicited proposals. Ideas you bring to the government entirely on your own initiative. This is a legitimate pathway to a non-competitive award, but only when the proposal meets strict criteria. It must be genuinely innovative and unique, not something the government already knows about and is planning to compete. It must be independently developed. You paid for it, not the government. The proposal must contain enough technical and cost content for the agency to actually evaluate it. The process: submit to the agency's designated point of contact, not directly to a program manager. The agency screens it first to confirm it really is unsolicited, then evaluates it for technical merit. If accepted, it can lead to a negotiated sole source award. The warning at the bottom is critical. A capability statement or a response to something a program manager mentioned at a conference does not qualify. Let's bring it all together with 5 key takeaways from today's training. First, know whether you're in a trade-off or LPTA competition before you write a single word. It completely changes your strategy. Second, treat Section M as your scorecard. Every factor listed there must be addressed in your proposal, and you cannot be penalized for factors not listed. Third, if discussions are opened, that is a gift. The agency is telling you what is wrong. Fix it. Fourth, if you are subject to certified cost or pricing data requirements, take the certification seriously. Defective pricing is a federal legal issue. Fifth, always request your debriefing. Even if you won, understanding how you were evaluated sharpens your future performance. We've covered a lot of ground today. The full scope of FAR Part 15, from acquisition planning through source selection, pricing, and debriefings. But knowing the rules is only the beginning. Winning in this environment requires strategy, precision, and experience. That's where Neybor Consulting comes in. Visit Neybor Consulting. Com today to book your free consultation. Our team of federal procurement specialists is ready to help you build stronger proposals, price them correctly, navigate discussions with confidence, and respond effectively when things don't go your way. Thank you for attending today's training. We look forward to helping you succeed in the federal marketplace.